Welcome to Wedding Photography Weekly, the weekly Q&A show where trucks drive past our windows here at the studio and make a lot of noise, and then motorcycles start and have to do lots of starts and stops. I'm Taylor Jackson. I'm a wedding photographer from up here in about an hour outside of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I shoot on a normal year about 60 weddings every year. This year is a heck of a lot different. And actually, so I guess maybe to kind of talk to that a little bit about the different market that's happening right here, and I feel like it's happening everywhere in the world. I have officially, as of yesterday, finished the bulk of the elopements course that I'm working on. So essentially how to generate a significant number of inquiries and leads for elopements in a very short period of time, because there are a lot of them happening. Most of the weddings that I'm booking now are maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks away, rather than a typical wedding season that I'm used to, that I would be booking likely. If I didn't book another 2020 wedding at this point, I wouldn't be surprised in a normal season that I might book a November, maybe a December, New Year's Eve or something. But typically wedding year, the bulk of my bookings for next year have already been done, and the rest of the dates will fill up in January, February, after Christmas and New Year's, when everyone really does get engaged. Moving into this year, the way that things are a lot different is that I'm getting a lot of inquiries for less than, I would say, 20 days from now. So 2 weeks to 3 weeks seems to be kind of the window that I feel like most people are just kind of, at this point, they've probably postponed a wedding. They've maybe even postponed 2 weddings. I have a couple that postponed 3 weddings. They were in March. They moved from the end of March to the end of April. April to July, all of those weddings had to be postponed. So they're obviously pretty stressed out, and they're like, you know what, let's just get married, just the 2 of us, and we'll figure out when we can have the big party with all of our family and friends at a later time. So I feel like a lot of couples are in that mindset, and if I can give you kind of one suggestion specifically for marketing to elopements, it's to figure out, put yourself in this position of this year right now, that you had a wedding planned or you wanted to get married to your partner, and everything has gone wrong essentially, and figure out how you can speak to that specific person and how you can create marketing messages around that, and maybe video content or some sort of online guide, or really just anything to help them know that you're on the same side as them, and that if they want to get married and they just want to have like a nice time for the 2 of them, maybe some small family, and they want some nice photos and they want it documented, and if you do video, if they would like the ceremony captured so they can show it to their friends, which is another huge thing this year. And if you're a member, you actually have access to all the stats as of last week, with everything that I've kind of experienced as far as packages go, as well as I give you my email template as well. So sign up over the member site if you're interested in having that. And then on the bottom of that post is all of last year's stats. So everything like packages and numbers for how much things cost, average bookings, as well as the average package that I would sell. So I do hybrid coverage, which means photo, video. Usually it means photography and a video highlight film. And that's kind of what this is based around. If you're a photographer, obviously just ignore the video section of it. But I'm hoping that by seeing the video section of it, you might be a little more inclined to take video seriously and start adding it to your wedding packages, because by doing hybrid coverage and by doing video, one, you're going to make your couples actually a lot happier. So maybe even if you're not delivering the same number of photos overall, if you're also delivering them a highlight film, they're going to be over the moon with the way that you've captured the day. I truly feel like video can tell the story of a wedding day in that 3-minute highlight, even set to music with no audio from the day. I guess one of the traps I fell into in the beginning was that I figured, oh, audio is like a nice bonus, like that, they must really want that. It turns out a lot of people don't want to hear their voice, and it really takes them out of this story. So if you just set it to music, they're usually happier, which is kind of interesting because it's less work and it's a heck of a lot easier, and it requires a lot less capture on the day. And by doing that, you really do make them a piece that they can sit down with their friends and family and just enjoy start to finish. Photography is also great, but it's pretty rare. I would say that maybe once they sit down and they go through the entire gallery of images with their parents, but for video, they send that to a lot of people. They make people watch that when they come over, like, let's watch the wedding video, throw it up on the big screen. So that's my additional push to doing video coverage. I guess we had an elopement and I had a small wedding, so I've been doing a lot of content this week, which is why I didn't have a chance to do anything and post it on YouTube. So we did a helicopter elopement, which I'm going to talk about in the elopements course 100% for sure. It is what I'm kind of calling like a turnkey operation. So our friend Jeff Mack, he's an officiant. He kind of put all of this together, And essentially he markets this idea of this kind of elopement package to couples. Couples come on over to Jeff's marketing material, or I don't know how he officially sells it. I'm going to talk to him a little bit more. People come over to that, they purchase this package that includes myself and includes a helicopter, it includes a private island that we can fly to, and I think there's a video element as well that if you want that, you can have that as well. So turnkey wise, he's doing a very amazing job with that, and we were fortunate enough to be able to get up and go on a helicopter elopement, fly to a private island. There's one on my YouTube channel already, so if you're interested in checking out kind of what that looks like, there's one up there, but there's a better one coming, and then we're doing another one September 1st. So stay tuned for lots of helicopters in a place that really there was no elopement market, and there was really no specifically a helicopter elopement market. So this kind of goes forth to prove that if you have an idea and you want to do a thing, that you can just do it, and if it works, it works. And the biggest hurdle I think that Jeff found and that we've found so far in this was that you have to get that first couple to sign up to do it. And looking back, we probably should have just done something similar to at least generate marketing material, maybe a different cost spend, I guess, but to set up some sort of portfolio shoot so we could at least show visuals of what this experience looked like. I feel like that would have got a lot more people on board a lot faster. So if you're interested in kind of coming together with a vendor team and creating something like that, we've seen it happen in studios as well. So outside of just elopements and setting up this elopement package, we've seen a couple of friends that'll do a studio environment like this. That'll have, it's kind of everyday, like it's everybody's full-time office almost in a sense, or at least their meeting place. And people come on over and it's like, oh cool, like we're gonna meet with this wedding planner. They walk in the door here and it's all my photography around, and there's videos from the videographer, the resident videographer that is part of that collective, and then maybe there's a DJ and maybe there's a florist, and it's really like you walk into the room and you're just like, can I just hire this? And the bonus with a collective and hiring a collective like that is, one, usually there's some sort of monetary price break for a couple, and two, they know that all of their vendors work incredibly well together. So I think there's value in that. That's regular wedding life, but also I guess elements of that could be applicable to elopements. But elopement course coming soon. If you're a member, sign up over there. The R5, I'm going to speak to that a little bit. The R5 started to arrive for people. I think after actual people reviews and reviews of people that are not necessarily Canon hired photographers that they've actually given the cameras to. And when you're watching reviews on YouTube, know that a lot of them are from a place that like Canon gave them that camera to go and play with. So they're probably not going to say too many negative things about it. I would say that there are a few YouTubers out there that try to get product early, but quite honestly, it's very difficult to get an early release of a camera if you're not somebody that's like under contract with them. So know that a lot of the early reviews were from people that really did want to please Canon, and then also from a mindset of a human being. It's very difficult for anyone to ever go into the negatives of a camera, I guess, overall. Because on YouTube, if you're putting that out, you're kind of burning that potential bridge to ever work with that company again. After seeing the real life reviews and comments from my friends about essentially that it kind of solidifies what I believe, that it really is an overkill camera. And the fact that for most people, some people did get their early release, but a lot of people are still waiting for theirs. So I'm gonna grab the R6. I love my Canon R originally, and I like that there's 2 card slots and IBIS in this one. It's going to replace my Fuji XT4, which I do like. And also I shot a wedding, so to bridge this into, I guess, more photography, wedding photography content. I shot my first wedding with a Fuji XT4, so it was Lindsay's wedding. I went out to her wedding with her and I shot the Fuji XT4, the 24 1.4, and a weird Zeiss 32 1.8, which was fine, but if you missed focus on it, it got really weird. So I really enjoyed the 23 1.4. I've used the 23 2.0 quite a lot, and I really like that lens a lot as just kind of a travel all-around lens. Keep in mind APS-C sensor, so it's a crop sensor, so 23 is more of a 35. So I shot that all day, and I really enjoyed the experience overall. That video will be coming up soon, hopefully. Again, shooting, I'm back, so essentially the entire year of content and the year of engagement sessions and the year, I guess all these smaller elopement style weddings are also starting to pop up. So they have really kind of taken over my calendar. Earlier this year, it was very easy to do daily videos and to do lots of content. Now I'm shooting pretty much all the time as of now. So I guess that's positive news overall. Maybe negative news for YouTube, but I'll get back to it, I promise. It's just balancing, I guess, like also work life and also balancing YouTube / my actual business becomes a little bit challenging whenever my actual business goes from, I would say, like maybe 15 to 20% occupancy of days to something like 110% all of a sudden. So it really does take me kind of a couple of weeks to figure that out. And also now that everything's a little bit different and now that everything's elopements, I find that I am outsourcing a little bit less as well. If you know me, you know that I outsource my post-production for wedding days because it's so much content that I find it very discouraging to sit down and begin to edit. And I make too many decisions that I go back on. I'm like, oh, I'll edit this entire section with this preset. And then I'll get to the next and I'll be like, now they just don't go together. And I'll go back and I'll re-edit through all of that. So I outsource everything to kind of get rid of that potential problem. Everything comes back, I add my preset to it, and usually it's almost good to go. Some adjustments usually required. In this current time, because elopements are essentially kind of like engagement sessions that graduated into a wedding, I'm actually handling all the post-production myself because it's such a tight window and I want to have full control over all of that. And even if I had to go back and do a re-edit of it, if I got to the end and I'm like, I just don't love it, I can go back and I can do it. It takes maybe, I would say maybe an hour or so, but it takes an hour once you sit down and you begin. It takes me about 4 hours to get in the mind space to sit down and begin that process. So yeah, if that's you as well, procrastination, human being, know that that's also me. And it really does take, it's a bit of a step to get actually sitting down to the computer. I have a few more notes on here. I also started using the Nikon 58mm f1.4 again. You might have seen it in some of my older videos. I love the 58. The 58 is, if you're interested in it, essentially it's, I would say, Nikon's lens probably with the most amount of character to it as far as out of focus areas and the way that it achieves focus and rolls off. It's really, really fantastic. I purchased it again because I'm looking forward to my Z5, my new Nikon mirrorless. It'll hopefully be here before the end of the month, and I'll bring it out to a bunch of weddings and test it specifically against the R6, which I think is going to be a very interesting test. So I bought the 58 because now I have in-body stabilization in the Z5, so I can do video with the 58. It's not the fastest focusing lens, and there are definitely some problems with it. Specifically if you're shooting any contrast points. So Helicopter Island, that you're just shooting people kind of in shade into a really bright horizon. It's kind of the absolute worst at 1.4. You can stop down to f2 and it kind of makes some of that go away. But for the most part, it's a lens that has a bit of a learning curve. The other huge benefit is, one, it's an expensive lens, 58 1.4. If you just buy it straight out of the box, in Canada, I think it's like roughly $2,000. And it's funny that a $2,000 lens is slow and technically not great overall, but it does have really nice character. But the one absolute huge benefit, I guess, is that the resale value of that lens, I don't know what, it's very much an anomaly. It doesn't go with what I would consider to be kind of standard resale for Nikon, but you can get them, I would say, half price or even less than half price if you buy them used. So don't buy it new, buy it used from somebody that used the lens and didn't get over that learning curve, or the photography that they do just relies on really great performance at 1.4 in really high contrast, crazy situations. I found if I have control over light, if it's golden hour, if the sun's already kind of nice and low, that it really does create a look and feel that nothing else does. But a video will be coming out about that, and it features grilled cheese. So hopefully that's exciting to you. Today, the Q&A. If you're interested in submitting questions, one, you have to be a member. So head over to the member website and join up there, and you're going to get the elopement course, and you get back access to everything that I've ever released on that site, which you can see there's a lot of things on it. It's like $2,000, maybe even $3,000 worth of content now, and you have instant access to it, including all of my presets and my contract, and really kind of everything you could ever imagine. If you're a member there, you can join up to our members Facebook group. There's directions. There's actually a course I guess, a digital download that you can go to, and then there's a link to the Facebook group, or you can just search Taylor Jackson Patreon or Taylor Jackson members group. I changed it from Patreon with the migration to the new site. And so far, everybody seems to be enjoying the new site a heck of a lot more. I am still in the process of porting everything from Patreon. I'm updating everything as I bring it over. So if I'm listening to a podcast and something is like horribly out of date, I'm cutting that and putting it back together to put up on the new site, as well as all of the posts that were over there. The post that will be going up maybe today or tomorrow is the $250,000 blog post. So a blog post that I did back a long time ago. And essentially that blog post directly made me $250,000 over the course of the next few years. I'm gonna say, ballparking that out even further, that it has continued to appreciate, and all of the, I guess that those initial weddings that all booked from that, they've all referred me other work, and I've generated new work based on those referrals as well. So I'm gonna say it's maybe even like $500,000 blog post at this point. I'll try to do some math and figure out something that makes sense so it's not just a huge clickbait title. Let's get to the questions. Apparently there's been so much activity in the members group since I posted this topic yesterday that it's almost buried. So if you remember, we're doing the $100 a week giveaway. So if you enter the image challenge and you win, basically the way that it goes, everybody posts all of their images. In today, or this week's was black and white. Next week is going to be something different. And then I take kind of the top 10-ish images and I put them all in a gallery, and everybody votes on which their favorites are. Also, I just want to give a specific shout out to this image here. I'll screenshot it so you can see it. David Kellman did a Lord of the Rings shoot or styled wedding, and it was actually the wedding, and they sat down and had a cup of tea. And I think that's like one of the coolest photos that I've ever seen from a wedding. And I'm happy that people just do what's true to them, because like I feel like if I was to tell my friends that I'm doing a Lord of the Rings wedding, I might get some weird looks. But if it's true to you and you can like actually do that and commit to it, like that's, I don't know. I feel like that's one of the coolest things. So I'm happy that they did that. That's really, really awesome. And he used the clean preset. And if you're part of the members group, you can get that preset. Clean is one of the new ones from the 2020 pack. Sean Howard asks, on the Nikon D780, you can now record video, slow-mo directing camera. Is this something you'll be doing or sticking with 1080 60 frames a second? I like 1080 60. I don't see a change, or I guess it depends what I'm doing, but I would say for weddings specifically, I'm totally happy with 1080 60. I've noticed technically with my computer, sometimes when I'm bringing in 120 frames per second footage, that it performs a little bit weird and it slows my workflow down a little bit. And it slows my workflow down in a way that I never really use the full extent of the 120 FPS. So I'm happy to shoot 60 frames a second and keep it at that. I will report back if I start shooting higher frame rate. For B-roll and stuff, I would suspect that, at least on YouTube, you're probably going to see a lot of people start doing more of that 120 gratuitous B-roll of just everyday things, which does look really good. But as a wedding person, if you are involved in the YouTube space and you watch a lot of YouTube content and you're starting to see that, don't let that just like pull you down the rabbit hole of doing 120 for everything, and know that that's more of a YouTube thing than a thing that maybe couples actually desire. So try to separate that as best you can. But I'm happy with my 60 frames a second, and I'm happy at HD. I talked about this last week that I have no interest in really shooting 4K for weddings, that unless I'm shooting something for a huge like proper cinema screen, I am going to stay with my 1080. Again, we'll report back if that ever changes, but I feel like for a long time I'm going to be very happy with 1080, and I felt that, I guess, like even years and years ago when the first 4K cams started to come out. Brian asks, I'm having trouble delivering my first wedding gallery on Pixieset. Can you explain how you organize them? Small galleries are simple, but for a wedding, do you deliver a chronological series in a single gallery, or is it possible to divide into sub-galleries? So what I do for my Pixieset, I use Pixieset to deliver my images, and then I unfortunately still use Vimeo or Dropbox depending on the video. If it's full wedding day, I'll usually do a Dropbox file so I can have like speeches and everything in it. Otherwise, I usually do Vimeo for highlight films with a little download link below. I put everything in one folder on Pixieset, and I know that you could definitely do multiple folders. I'll do one if we do the engagement session, so I'll have an engagement folder and then also a weddings folder, but I just make sure everything's in good chronological order. If I was doing a multi-day wedding and there was a Thursday event and a Friday event and Saturday event and maybe like a Sunday brunch or whatever, I would split those up. But if it's just one single wedding day, I'm usually putting everything in one gallery. And this is also, I guess, important to mention that that's why one of the reasons that I actually start, I do my best to start really strong with the gallery. That usually we show up and arrive in a getting ready location and it's not that good. So usually what I'll do is if I am doing video and I have the drone with me, I'll open the gallery with like some nice drone visuals of the reception area and place them at the beginning of the wedding. So whenever they first open their gallery, that they're seeing something of really good quality rather than something of their like dirty basement or wherever I happen to be doing the getting ready coverage. I feel like it adds, it's same with videos as well, that I'll always open with something that's very visually stimulating and pretty and kind of sets the quality aspect or the future quality of it before bouncing back into the getting ready coverage, which is sometimes kind of like you do the best you can, but sometimes it just is what it is. So yeah, everything in one gallery. Maybe I'll talk with Pixieset and see if we can do like some sort of video or something together to get more out there. But yeah, I put everything in one single gallery. Jamie asks, how do you handle an unmotivated second shooter who says that they want to learn and be a good shooter but never takes the time to learn or study or practice, unless I basically argue with them for days? So I think that maybe the sad answer is if there's somebody that's important to you, maybe keep them around. But if they're not somebody that's important to you and they're just like making it very difficult, I would personally just find somebody else that actually wants the work and wants to do the photography thing. It seems like they're just that they might say that to you because they don't want to disappoint you, but they might actually just desire something completely different and they just might not enjoy it at all. So I'd find somebody that's really kind of stoked about it. There's a lot of people out there that would be very, very happy to come out to a wedding and just take some nice wedding photos of people having a good time. Usually the way that I guess I would say maybe there's also kind of a burnout as well for second photographers, that if they don't want to do it as a business, I feel like you get kind of like a year and a half, 2 years out of somebody that aspires to create some sort of business or to do this, whether it's photography for weddings or for families or whatever it might be, that it begins and that's kind of the goal. And if they don't have that as a goal and they just want to be working for a daily rate, it might be just motivationally difficult. I don't know. I would personally just find somebody else, and we find our second photographers, usually they're friends that are pretty good with a camera, and they come out to a couple of weddings and we just put a camera in their hands and see how they do. Unhired second shooters, mind you. And then eventually I would say after like 2-3 weddings, that if somebody's come to 2 or 3 weddings and even if they have really no photography experience, after those 2 or 3 wedding days with a camera in their hand, they're typically creating some pretty good work. I promise a lot that I'm gonna make this video that I hired Lindsay's brother Ryan to come out to a wedding, and he came out. I realized pretty quickly that they did not hire a second photographer, and I think the mom mentioned something, oh, we love your videos, and I referenced back and they did not have video on the contract, and I had it in writing in a bunch of places that they didn't hire video. But I was like, maybe I'll just make him a highlight. So I gave Ryan, it was a Nikon D500 with the 35mm Tamron, so on that body, kind of like a 50mm lens. And this was maybe, I'm gonna say he's done at this point maybe 10 weddings combined with either Lindsay or myself. Never even turned video mode on his camera. Never even, I don't think, shot with a camera that had video mode. He was on a D700. And I was like, here, go do all the stuff you'd usually do, but just take video clips of it. And he made a really fantastic highlight film based on absolutely no experience. And with the editing that I do, I guess, with kind of that touch of it, obviously he way overshot it, but dialing that back into a 3-minute highlight, I could make something that very much looked like I shot it. So know that maybe the learning curve, that you don't have to hire somebody that's like a supreme professional, that it is possible to train somebody, and if they get along with people on the day, I think that's kind of the key thing as well, that you want somebody that is nice to have around on the day, so that when they do start taking photos, that they're just kind of, they represent your brand very well. Rich asks, I'm forever adjusting exposure in post trying to get decent skin tones. Is there a knack for it? I'll adjust, think it looks fine, then come back. So this is kind of what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that you just keep coming back to the same photos over and over again. I think as far as the thing that helped my skin tones the best was shooting in shade or white balance, or shade or cloudy white balance mode, that it really is simply because I guess it's not a sunny day right now, but say the sun's behind me, the sun is shining bright. I'm not going to turn my camera on auto because it's going to take the entire scene or most of the scene kind of into what it's going to calibrate that white balance to be. But I know that my client's face is in the shade, and that means that if I'm white balancing for their face, I want the shade tone because their face is in the shade. So that got me a lot closer, and that at least put me within the ballpark of even like a couple hundred Kelvin or maybe like that 1,000 Kelvin window. If I did need to change it, say for instance, if it was sunny and everything's bouncing off a big yellow wall like we have over here, I would maybe have to dial that back a little bit. The other thing I do is if the gallery is just too warm and I know it's too warm overall, I'll use something like the Cool preset, so the 2019 Cool Summer Cool preset, where it brings in a little bit more of those colder tones, but doesn't actually require you to go in and adjust everything individually, that it kind of almost counters for that white balance by taking out those elements, which is the reason I built that preset. So if you're, you can download that and maybe give that a shot if you're ever in a situation where everything is just like, it doesn't feel quite right. Play around with a few of those different presets and see which one gets you the closest. But I would say overall that shooting in cloudy or shade mode definitely has helped me a lot. Joshua asks, planning ahead for when I book some more weddings and win the weekly photo contest and can afford it, does pineapple belong on pizza? This is, so we're doing a series. I haven't announced it yet. This is not the announcement. Maybe it is the announcement. It's a middle of this video announcement. So we're likely doing a series with Toyota Canada where we're going to drive across the country and we're going to go to all of the different places that Canada created something for the world that's either loved or hated. Chatham, Ontario is like 3 hours this way, and they were the first people to put pineapple on pizza. It is very well documented that he is the dude that started the Hawaiian, or that restaurant, I guess, maybe not the dude specifically, but that restaurant specifically started Hawaiian pizza. So we're going to do an investigative report on that with Toyota, hopefully. But basically what happened was that the entire world situation throttled a few marketing budgets, and we'll see if that ends up happening this year or next year. But I do have the car, so it's somewhere, right? Hendrik asks, when do you have time to vacation holiday, and where would you like to travel again when we are able to travel? What was first, chicken or egg, and what would you do if you weren't a photographer? So for vacation, the only real place that I've really 100% wanted to go back to in this current time is Japan. I love Japan. I wish that I wish it was closer because it's such a difficult, if you fly from Toronto, you actually fly over the world, which is interesting. So you fall asleep and you fly up kind of over, I guess sideways. So you fly over Alaska and then you come down over Siberia and Russia and you come like straight down to Tokyo, down like north to south, which is kind of interesting. I love spending time there. I think that it is genuinely like for a number of reasons. One, I like Tokyo because it's opposite time as here. So it's very difficult to have a regular work day while you're there. So it actually forces you to vacation and turn off a little bit. And then I guess the other thing is that likely people from back home aren't sending me emails at 4 a.m. local time here. So during the day there, you're a lot less distracted. You're getting a lot less pop-ups and like just distractions throughout the day. And then also the people are amazing most of the time. 99% of the people are amazing. And it's just so far from everything that I kind of know here. And it really has, over the past 10 years, I've been there, I would say maybe twice a year for the past 10 years or so now. And it really started to feel like a second home to me. And it's unfortunate that I can't go there. So I'm a little sad about that. Outside of that, I don't know. I want to go to WPPI next year. So hopefully Vegas and the US kind of makes some positive progress in that. And WPPI doesn't get canceled before that kind of arc starts to hopefully level out. But we'll see. Maybe they'll bump it to later in the year. One of my favorite conventions ever that is likely never going to happen again. So Skip Cohen, I believe if he didn't start WPPI, he was one of the dudes that was like the very beginning, like the showrunner with it. And what he did, I'm going to say 8 or 9 years ago. So WPPI, the first time I went was back in, I don't even know what year it was. It was at Paris and Bally's. So it was the last year it was at Paris before it started bouncing around. It stayed at MGM for a bit, and then it was Mandalay for a bit, Convention Center for a year, No, I'm happy they moved that. And now it's at Mirage this year, which is one of my favorites, where Lindsay and I actually got engaged. And I would say Mirage is probably cosmopolitan for the photography opportunities because you have a balcony, you can take nice photos. But Mirage, I think, as far as just like a nice place to stay that's reasonable all of the time. If you have an M Life card, you can stay there for like $29 on a usual year. Now I'm guessing it's like free, like please come play games here, spend some money. So I would say that I'm very excited for WPPI to happen at Mirage specifically, and I really do want it to happen. So if they bump it, I'm hoping they bump it to the summer. The tangent that I went off on, Skip Cohen started a thing called Skip Summer School. I think it only ran for 1 year, maybe back in like 2011, 2012. And it was an August event, and everybody flew in for like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in August, and it was WPPI, but only in one room. So one of the struggles with WPPI is that if you want to see like 3 people, there's a pretty good chance that all 3 of those people are speaking at the same time. And they'll usually do multiple classes of the same class, so you'll be able to find it. But Skip Summer School, what it was you sat in one room, and they just had a lineup from I think like 9 in the morning until pretty much 5 p.m. And it was just all the speakers that you wanted to see. They all did an hour and a half, I think, or an hour maybe. And they went up, they did their thing, they taught you the things, and then they headed off. And it was the greatest like kind of litmus test of all of the different instructors and all of the different teachers. And they basically condensed everything that they could teach you in a full workshop into that 1 hour. And it was a lot less sponsored than WPPI was, which means that usually WPPI, somebody gets up to speak. They've been sent there, they've been given money by like Graphy Studio to talk about albums. So their topic is going to be about like album sales in 2020. Whereas Skip Summer School was a little bit less like that. And it was a little bit more like, how can I genuinely help you without actually making a paycheck? Because everybody just wanted that break in August. And the parties were awesome too. That was back when MGM, there's like kind of these cascading suites that all go down. And I think pretty much everyone was booked out by one of the companies, and they were like hot tub parties. You can kind of like just go down to the next level. You can't jump, but you can go down the elevator to the next level, and you can go to all the different parties that everyone was showing. So it was really cool, and I hope that something like that comes back. Or if WPPI has to morph into a weird summer year, I hope that it brings in elements of that. That was a pretty big tangent, but yeah, I think that's it. But also, I guess to answer the first part of the question, when do you have time to vacation/holiday? And I would say that most of my business, I think that I've spoken to this a lot on YouTube, but I really do make my business kind of all about my life happiness. And the reason that we do a travel show is because we like to travel. And if I can make that pay me money, I'm super happy about that. That when we go out and we do like an episode in Havana, Cuba, like that is 0% work for me. If anything, it's more of an excuse to get out and see more of the city and to learn more of the city. So I really like creating content for that reason. And I feel like when you're shooting it, it feels like vacation. If I had to edit on site, maybe that would feel a little bit different, but I still feel like it feels like a nice vacation, even though we are shooting content everywhere we go. And Lindsay may have mixed opinions about this, but I really do. Like if I'm somewhere, I want to find an opportunity to bring something interesting back to either inspire people to create better work, or to create different work, or to see a new place, or to see a culture a little bit differently. Or I feel like the more cultures we can all kind of see and like be reported on by not necessarily CNN, but somebody that you actually watch on YouTube, I feel like the smaller and the easier the world kind of gets, and the more inclusive, and everyone can hopefully work together and understand each other a little bit more. Darren asks, how much contract do you have with your couples between booking and wedding day? Or how much contact, sorry, I'm not reading correctly today. How much contact do you have with your couples between booking and wedding day? Do you leave any contact up for them, or do you send them occasional emails and texts with information? I would say it depends on the package. If they're booking me and there's no engagement session, or even if there is an engagement session, the ball is usually always in the court of the couple. If they want to get in touch with me, I'm happy to answer anything. But most of the time, I know that if I don't send them information, they're not going to have questions. So if they have an engagement session and I know that the wedding's coming up, I'll send them like a, hey, we're 2 months away from the wedding. Do you want to schedule that engagement session? Usually what happens is we'll set up a date, a time, or at least a ballpark date and time at some point in the first meeting for that. So usually I don't have to do that. It's maybe once or twice a year. Now, I guess things again are a little bit more tricky. field a lot more questions and from couples, but also in this time I don't really reach out too much to them, because I feel like when I reach out, I'm only adding more stress and unknowns, or asking questions that they might not know yet, or that if they're important questions and they haven't asked them yet, I think that's good. But if they're not important questions, I don't want to stress them out about anything, because they're already stressed out enough. So I would say it's pretty much all in the couples. I give them everything that they need in the beginning, and then usually they'll get in touch with me over an engagement session. And then after that engagement session, usually 2 weeks before the wedding, I'll send them an email and ask like, hey, one, final payment's due. You don't put that first, maybe put that second. And just ask them if they have a final schedule for the wedding day. And at that point, any questions they have can come up. But I would say by 2 weeks before the wedding, they've already solved everything with their venue or with their whoever it might be. So I like the idea of having all the problems just happen and not involve me. I find that Lindsay, it might be because she's a lady, or it might be because she puts a lot more of herself out on Instagram stories, that she gets a lot of couples that really do want to involve her in every aspect of the wedding planning process, down to her getting text messages about different wedding dresses, like which one should I pick. That is not something that I deal with. I'm not sure what that is, but she seems to be more, I think, friends, or at least her couples believe that she's like a great friend, like a maid of honor almost in a lot of cases, with how many questions and how many things she has to plan for them. I don't desire that. That doesn't make me super happy. So I've kind of steered away from hopefully being that person. Next question, Steve Greenwood. I'm currently working on my pricing structure for wedding photography. Should I put my packages on my website or email it upon client request? This is a question that could really go either way. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer officially to it. I think by having your packages on your website, it's 100% transparency. Everybody sees the exact same thing, and they know that. Couples know that. So I feel like you gain some trust, some credibility. You're likely going to be getting probably a lot less inquiries overall, but when you do get those inquiries, they know exactly how much they're going to spend. I sit on the side of putting a starting rate on my website and then having a full pricing list behind the scenes. My theory for that, and this is, I guess, tested in a sense, because I do continue to book work and I have seen this actually work. But my theory is that if they have to inquire with me and they send me that email, there's a pretty good chance that before I actually respond to that email, that maybe they've gone in and they've maybe sold themselves a little bit more on me. Maybe they've watched some video content, or they've scrolled through my Instagram, or whatever it might be. So I kind of err on that side, that I want them to be a little bit more involved with me before they actually see my pricing. And I've seen success in that, but I don't believe that there's a right or wrong way to do this, especially if you live in a city. So I live also kind of in a city that's, if I'm marketing to Toronto, I almost want a different pricing list to send out there, because I am drastically underpriced if I was to be competing in Toronto. But for competing in this local market, it's a lot more reasonable. So maybe I would say, if it makes sense for you, by all means do it. Or you can even kind of do a split test over a couple of months and see kind of how things go. But know that there's a lot more variables in play there. But yeah, it could go either way. Rose asks, I'm not getting responses from my Facebook ads. What's the best type of ad and audience to target? So I'm going to go in the Elopements course. I'll be going through building an Instagram ad and building my Facebook ad. I do a Facebook boost. I don't do a Facebook ad video for the video, but for Instagram we do a proper ad. Maybe the one thing that I should mention, and this is like a pretty huge thing, I think. So if you're still watching this might be the most important piece of this entire video. If you are doing Facebook ads or Instagram ads, you can now target by recently engaged females. So rather than just doing the regular like engaged females, which is a huge window, especially now, like some people are going to be pushing like 3-year engagements, I think, at this point. So on Facebook, they're going to be labeled as engaged for a long time. You don't want to continuously market to them, because they've already booked a photographer, or they've already like planned their wedding. But what you can do is you can target by recently engaged, and you can go 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. In this current climate, I might be saying 6 months. In normal circumstances, I'd be saying target by those 3 months, and you'll spend a little bit more to get directly in front of those people, but you are getting your most ideal client. And again, that some people, when they get engaged, they immediately already know who their wedding photographer is, that there's no question. So if you're marketing to them, that's always going to be like a no response, but that I think really does increase your chances. And then as far as the best type of ad and audience to target, I think that it doesn't necessarily matter on the ad. I think it's the content that people come over to. That if you're just doing hey, check out my website and put a bunch of money into that, and people are coming to your website, you're going to spend a lot of money. A lot of the people that are clicking on those are probably also photographers, so they're spending you money to come over to your site and to just kind of look around. If you are creating some sort of helpful guide or helpful blog post or something that can help people navigate planning a wedding in this challenging time, I feel like that's a much better thing to point people in the direction of. If you do build out even a guide, you can bring this one step further and bring this into an email list. So you have the exact emails of the people that are currently getting engaged that are interested in this topic, and you can send them helpful follow-up information over the next couple of weeks while they decide which photographer to go with. But know that like the photography selection process, if somebody's serious about photography and they have money to spend on it, it's usually maybe like a 2-3 week window total. So it's challenging to find them within that correct window, but by doing that recently engaged, you'll have a much better chance. And then by creating something that's helpful, you're going to get a lot more organic shares. I would even say to run one ad just kind of like a slow drip over a long period of time, so that you are getting those people that become recently engaged within the first couple of days. And then also creating one that targets, I would say personally, all females from like 22 to 65 plus, and not using the engaged modifier on that, and targeting absolutely everyone. If you have good, helpful content, people are organically going to share that with the people that they know that are getting married or getting engaged. And that's kind of a way to get around it, because a lot of people, maybe they don't change their Facebook status or whatever it might be. And I know that specifically moms, this is judging from our food show, that our moms are not our moms, just moms in general, are like the #1 supporter of it. I know how much they share. I know that my dad shares a couple of things online, but I know that my mom shares a heck of a lot more. So yeah, something to kind of think about. Hopefully that was helpful. Even just the recently engaged thing was probably worth watching this entire video if you're here. So hopefully you got something from that. Frederick asks, why don't you use a battery grip for your weddings? So when I use a battery grip, I don't know if it's just that I've never shot studio, or it's just the way that I guess maybe started, that I didn't have a shutter trigger on my battery grip, the first one that I ever got. So I continued to use just my regular shutter. So by having a battery grip, it doesn't really add anything to me necessarily. It's, I guess, nice to have a second battery, but I find that I don't even go through an entire battery on a digital SLR in a wedding day. If I was shooting mirrorless, it might be worth it. If I was really using that side button and I was shooting vertically a lot, I would maybe find that more helpful. But I think that most of my cameras at least balance well just regular, so I don't need to add anything to it. If it added specific advantages, like the Fuji XT4 battery grip gives me like a mic jack, if battery grips started coming out like that, I feel like it's a pretty obvious thing that like Fuji kind of got that. I feel like Nikon and Canon and Sony should also maybe start to understand that if they add features that are maybe bonus features, and maybe there's multiple different styles of body grips that they send out, that one's like the video body grip and one's the photography battery grip, and one is maybe like kind of a mixed media battery grip, that they can add things that will be helpful. I think that would be maybe enough to start to convince me, but if anything, I do kind of the opposite, and I want smaller equipment, especially on a wedding day that I have to carry everything around. Anderson says, Sunday I'm going to photograph I'm going to my first hybrid. I have a second photographer helping me. It'll be a small wedding, 50 guests. Do you have any recommendations? Another thing, I bought a DR40X Tascam, and I'm going to put a microphone on the groom's suit. And I'm also going to be recording a second track with external recording. Any suggestions for audio? I think you've thought more about audio than pretty much everyone that I've ever seen going into a hybrid wedding for the first day. So I think that's awesome. Audio wise, it's important. Like I'm going to say on average, I have 4 or 5 backup levels of audio, and I've had to go down to backup like 3 and backup 4 in the past. So I think it's important, even if you don't think you'll need it, throw up a GoPro in like the top corner of the venue or whatever, just to record, to have another room mic as well as another angle. But I think that's kind of my suggestions for that. For actual hybrid, it's really depending on, I guess, my suggestions for going into your first hybrid wedding. It really is to stay as present as you can in the day and also in your timeline. The thing that I struggled with the most, I think, when I started hybrid, was that I would literally forget to shoot video clips, because I was stuck in photography. I was maybe 7 years as a wedding photographer at that point. It was very difficult for me to even think about video. So maybe put like a little sticky on your camera or something, or if you think that might be an issue. That said, I've always been able to recover. Like obviously during the ceremony, I know I'm shooting photo video, but it's kind of the in-between times where I would just default into like, okay, photography session, let's go, like family session, let's do this. At that point, I would always forget to be shooting video. And if you shoot the entire family session, just photography only, you don't really need to get any video, I don't think, during the family session unless it's candids of people. But after that, it would be maybe 20 minutes since I'd shot a video clip, and I would kind of forget if we moved into the couple session next. So that would be my weird surprise recommendation, I guess, is to not forget to shoot video over the day, which might be the stupidest recommendation of all time, but it's legitimately a thing. It's starting to rain. I feel like it rained last week on this. All right, Brian Smith asks, I see a lot of backlit photos that have plenty of detail on the faces, but I can't seem to get them right. Either the background is blown out or the face is too dark, and opening them up to post leaves a lot of noise. I should do, maybe I'll do a video. So I shot most of the helicopter elopement was all backlit and in very challenging conditions. It sucks because it's such a beautiful scene, but I don't think that there is a way to truly convey, maybe with the exception of setting up like a huge studio, to truly convey what that actually feels like. And then I feel like once you set up off-camera lights, you take the actual feeling of the moment away a little bit. So I think that this is kind of a problem. So I'll make a video about this. I'll put it on my notes right now to create a video that talks a little bit more about this. To answer it kind of quickly now is that I'm usually doing the best I can to get something that looks right on the back of my camera, or at least roughly right. That if I'm shooting an image, say like the sun is directly behind the camera here, and I'm trying to photograph this camera and the sun is sitting right there, it's just going to completely like eat the content that you want. So usually what I'm doing is, even if I'm getting that backlit shot, I'm trying to kind of offset myself so the light's kind of coming from here rather than directly behind them, in order to capture a little bit more of the detail. I think that lenses also play a big role in this as well, that if you're shooting a lens that really does just kind of like when any sort of light hits that front element, that it just lights up all crazy. It might be worth looking into kind of how your different lenses react in those situations, and maybe you'll find one that handles things really well. That said, one of I don't think it's an issue, it's a positive problem, that the Sigma art glass, like it handles that situation so well that it just almost minimizes like all the flare. It's just like, nope, no more flare. Whereas I actually like a little bit of that technical incorrectness. So don't try to go for something that's like hyperclinical, because you'll start to lose kind of that nice feeling. But play around with, I would say, your lenses. Maybe next nice sunset you have, go out either with yourself or somebody you can convince to just do a few photos and figure out what that is. But I'll make a video that goes a little bit more in detail about that. But I think one thing that maybe is also, I'm sure you're already doing this, but manual settings as well, I think is really important, so that you're able to actually meter for something that has like the images. I'll show some in this video that I create that come out of the back of my camera, even if it is backlit, are usually pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with them. And the usual thing is that the background, I have to sacrifice a little bit, but I'm sacrificing the background in order, and by that I mean that maybe it's a little too bright back there, in order to get nice flattering skin tones and everything. Because at the end of the day, even if the scene looks amazing, if their skin tones are weird, they're not gonna like that photo. So yeah, that's my short answer to that. Long answer coming up soon. I'm gonna make a video for that. Rachel asks, I've heard you talk about using a DX crop when you need a little extra zoom. Since DX crop mode changes the resolution, wouldn't it be better to crop in post? Yeah, you could. So basically my thought is, one, it's because I outsource, so I don't crop in post. Somebody else kind of makes those decisions for me. What Rachel's talking about is, if you've seen the behind the scenes videos, I have my front button on my ring finger down here. When I'm shooting photos, I can hold that and I can scroll through a few different options for frame size. So all the way down from crop to full frame. And then I think there's like a 1.2. 1.3 in the middle there. So I use all of those, especially during a ceremony if I don't want to get too close. I'm on a 70-200. I get into 200 and maybe the frame is still kind of this wide. And if I don't want to walk in front of the family, or I don't want to walk in front of that first row, I just punch into crop mode and my frame becomes something like, kind of like this. A little bit smaller, a little bit closer. And I just make that decision on site. I usually, for the most part, have the backup of the full res as well. And then depending on, I actually haven't tested this yet, so it might be interesting. Depending on which camera you're shooting with, sometimes it actually shoots the entire file and it just gives you the crop lines in Lightroom. I know that my Leica Q2 does this. So there's, Q2 is an awesome camera, by the way. There's a little button that's on the back that's right beside your viewfinder, and it's a Q2 is a fixed 28mm f1.7 lens. And so you have a 28 and you hit this button and you go into 35, and you hit the button again, you go into 50, you hit the button again, you go into 75, I think. And because it's a 40+ megapixel sensor, even if you are shooting at 75, you're still getting, I think, maybe an 8 or 9 megapixel file. But when you go back into Lightroom, if you hit the button, the crop button, it'll actually show you the entire file. So it's writing the entire file, but it's only showing you the crop. So some cameras, I'm gonna look into my D780 because I don't think I did that at the wedding that I was at last time. But I think it's just good to get it right in camera whenever possible, so that, I don't know, save yourself some cropping in post. Ben asks, any tips for photographing big groups at a wedding? I have my first wedding coming up and thought that I'll do fine with big groups, but I have little experience with big groups. I would say, especially if it's one of your more first weddings, to do the most you can to help yourself out in the future. And by that, I mean asking the couple for a list of all the family photos that they would want, and then telling them, like, give a copy to somebody that knows who everyone is as well as me, and that way you have somebody that can kind of help you out. I would say that was the big thing that I learned that really did help me out with big groups. One is somebody that isn't necessarily, I don't want to be yelling on a wedding day, and if they're able to just like make eye contact with the people that they need and tell them to get in the photo, usually that made my life a lot easier. There's still, I guess, there's no real minuses to it unless you're at a very high-end wedding, in which case I might recommend you get your second photographer or an assistant or a wedding planner to help you out with that, or a wedding planner assistant more likely. But I would say that that's kind of my number one advice for big groups. For the wedding party, it's always interesting. Sometimes people show up, they just want to get photos done, so they're 100% ready to pay attention. Sometimes you get the group of guys that have 2 beers, one in each hand, and they're a little bit more difficult to control overall. That's something that I still kind of struggle with whenever I get those really high energy alpha type individuals all in a wedding party together. It's very difficult for me to do as good of work as I possibly can kind of in that situation. So that's one thing that even I struggle with, and I feel like most people struggle with. But if you are marketing to your ideal client, usually you're not finding too many groups like that are kind of the opposite of what you would usually do. But it still does happen from time to time, and you usually don't know until the actual wedding day. John asks, what is one wedding photography tradition you'd like to see the back of? I assume that means that I want to see it go away. And what wedding compositions would you like to do more of? So I've realized, looking back at I'll answer these in reverse order. I've realized that looking back at my past YouTube videos specifically, that I make a lot of weird crops, and I make a lot of weird crops because I shoot single point AF and I can't move my focus point around as fast as I want to a lot of the time. I might actually look to see if you can speed that up. I don't know if you can speed that process up or you can make it jump more. But I made a lot of weird compositions in the beginning, so I would like to just make good compositions now moving forward, or things that feel more correct overall, which usually means cutting off people's legs for no reason a little bit less overall. As far as actual compositions go, I think that it very much is whatever's happening on the day. You just kind of have to go with it, and you have to figure out what works best. So my compositions, I like to just figure out whatever the best possible situation is within that environment and make that happen. I seem to get some sort of joy in that. And then also, as somebody that shoots the same venues kind of over and over again, to be able to do something very different from what I did last time, I think is also something that gives me a lot of kind of joy overall. And to answer the first question, what is one wedding photography tradition? I feel like spot color already is, even like when it was coming, like when spot color is when it's a black and white image and it has just the piece of color, which is usually the flowers or the shoes or something stupid. I'm happy that that's disappeared, but even when people were doing it, people were talking about how stupid it was. So it seemed like by the time anyone was doing it, everyone already hated it. Yet it still continued to exist for 10 years or so. I think that a lot of the traditions that I've seen kind of come and go, I'm happy that they're on their way out. Another thing was that there were just like textures that everyone would add to images, maybe 2010, 2011, maybe even before that, 2008, 2009. I feel like, the technical of cameras was still kind of getting to a point that was great. People really relied heavily on Photoshop in order to make their artistic images as good as they can be. And that meant that a lot of people were adding textures and grains and like cross-processing filters and all kinds of crazy stuff for a little while. So I'm happy that that's all kind of disappeared. I don't know if there's anything right now that I don't love. I'm gonna say that there's not really. That I feel like we're kind of in a good place as an industry right now, and I'm excited to see kind of how this goes forward. I feel like also technical, like the cameras and ISO and everything, like everything is kind of is obviously as good as it's ever been, but I feel like for weddings, technology really doesn't have to progress that much more in order to continue to do great work. That I feel like I have all the tools that I need right now to go out and create amazing work, which is a positive because that means that even like 5 years ago, I had most of the tools with the exception of video. That if you want to get into wedding photography and you're like, I can't afford all these new cameras coming out, like the Canon R is so expensive. If you go back to 2016 and you look at the cameras that came out then, or even like Canon or a Nikon D750 that you can get for pretty inexpensive now, even though they kind of spiked and they became expensive again for some reason, you can usually find a good camera for less than like $800, I would say, Canadian, so maybe like $600-700 US, if you're just into the photography side. So I like that. I think that it's cool that even 5-6 years ago, we were to the point that cameras were in a place that could really kind of cover anything that I would need on a wedding day, with the exception of video. So yeah, that's kind of my short answer to that. Sydney asks, how the heckle and bob can I bring clients for free sessions/weddings where I can build a portfolio? I'm in a town where I know absolutely nobody, so struggling to build a portfolio. Also been humming the cappuccino song all day, so that's good. I like that that's the pizza song, the most memorable part in it is in fact about cappuccino. I'm probably not as good of a songwriter as I thought that I was. So for bringing in clients and bringing in even free shoots, I would be willing to travel a little bit. If there's a bigger city kind of around where you're at, I would try all avenues on it because all cities are a little bit different. I found a lot of free stuff on Craigslist. They were fine. I was able to go out and take photos of people. So it was successful in that regard. It was a bit of a pain overall. I would say also, if you do have even a small bit of portfolio, that if you can make some sort of video or some sort of post that's just like, hey, offering up these free sessions, there's like one available. I'll actually talk about this in the elopement course, so you can, maybe this is kind of more of a guide for that. Even though you might not see, if you're in a small town, or I guess it doesn't say that you're in a town where you're a small town, you're in a town where you don't know anyone, so maybe this will be as successful for you. But I basically put together a video that was like, hey, here's like what I would like to do. I'm giving away one free elopement, and then I confused it by offering a second prize as a giveaway. I would say just like offer up one free engagement session and make a little video about it so that you're able to just get cheaper ad spend on Facebook whenever you advertise it. And by getting people at least onto your email list that way, you're going to start a local email list that you can now reach out to for family photos, for seniors photos, depending on where you live, like all kinds of different opportunities if you have an email list and you have a bunch of clients that are interested. And then beyond that, just offering up something that people want, which is hopefully photography sessions. It might be family sessions where you're at. It might be something different. I'm not sure what else it could be, but people might want different things there. And if you find that maybe in the beginning, free sessions, like you can find a lot of families, maybe that's an aspect of your business that you follow for a little bit, because families will always have people that are getting married, and by building that portfolio, I don't think it's too much of a departure from weddings that you can never come back. But if you see a market and it's underserved, it might be worth kind of exploring for a little bit. But I would say by making a free giveaway and making that public and making it like more of a thing than it is, that for instance in the elopement course, you'll see that it's basically a 1-week giveaway that people have to submit their emails for and tell me a little bit about themselves in order to apply. And I have seen really great results with that. So that might be something, but wait for maybe next week. I'm gonna try to get it out for like Monday or Tuesday next week, because I feel like it is very important. Ellie asks, I had a bride take my top package and try to knock off items to be similar to my third package, but cheaper because my top package is $700 savings. How do I prevent this, and how can you prevent brides from nickel and diming you? So, but I feel like the a la carte section of my price sheet hurt me on this to go around. So it sounds like, I'm gonna say that there's maybe 1 in 100 people like this that just wanna like kind of get the best deal, and they don't, I don't know, maybe they're not respecting you as much as they should. I would say just make that a la carte pricing, really kind of make it extra worthwhile for you if they do decide to ever go back to that. It's not something you can fix now because this person's kind of already gone through this process, but it is something that if you change up those prices going into the future, that you'll hopefully never have this problem again. And you can also even add something like the packages here. If you're fine with them being like that you can't modify them, you could even put like these packages you can't modify. Happy to make you a custom package on request. And if they message you and they're like, hey, we'd like a package that has all these elements, then it's more on you to kind of price something out and put it together for them, rather than them trying to build it themselves, which is a bit of a mean thing to do, I think, to a creative photographer that is trying to run their own business. So I would say that make your a la carte pricing, maybe make that a little bit bigger than it should be in order to really make the packages even better. And then make sure that if they ever do want a custom package, that they have to talk to you rather than trying to build their own custom package based on that. Aiden says, I've been asked to do sole videography for a wedding for the first time. No photos, just recording. I have recorded ceremonies before using a GoPro and another camera while taking photos, but never a whole day of recording. What settings would you consider using on a Z50 to record key elements, using a Sigma 18-35 f1.8 and a Tamron 70-200 as variables? So I would say there's, as sole video person, the things that I guess I learned in my first couple of weddings were that I needed more cameras than I thought that I needed, that I wanted more angles. And when I got back to editing, it was much easier for me to set up that GoPro. And I think I was using like a Sony RX something as well on one. I literally used light stands at the time. So I'd have like 3 cameras set up, and I felt like 3 ended up being the correct amount. So I would say if you can grab another GoPro and one that you can set to linear mode as well, to maybe set up another backup camera so that you have things to cut between. Simply like some of the mistakes that I made were, it was in a church, and as soon as everybody stood up, they really kind of blocked the entire angle. And I didn't realize one of them was a very like Catholic ceremony. So there was a lot of up, sing for a little bit, sit down, kneel, back up. So that kind of burned one of those camera angles. And because I was in the photography space by that point, I didn't really notice until I got back home. So maybe try your best to set up an extra camera angle or 2. And then as far as settings go, maybe the unpopular opinion, today is an example of this, that I've set this camera to automatic mode as far as shutter goes. So I'm on aperture priority, I guess. So I have my ISO locked down, but I'm letting my shutter speed kind of roam a little bit, simply in case it gets sunny out here, that I don't have to go and make adjustments. And I would say the same for wedding days, that if you have multiple cameras set up and they're all kind of set to auto, or I guess GoPros, you're kind of stuck as auto anyways, as the light comes up, if it gets sunny or cloudy or whatever it might be, that they'll adjust, and you can cut in between cameras, and you can leave out that like brief second of adjustment in order to make it look a little better overall. So I would say that as far as actually kind of like the run and gun style coverage throughout the day, it's quite similar to photography. You'll probably be bored out of your mind, to be honest, especially if you're just shooting for kind of a highlight, or maybe a slightly larger than regular highlight, since you're doing sole video. But I would say to just overshoot in the beginning, because you don't know what you're going to need. Next time you'll know kind of those shots that you absolutely need, but also know the stuff that maybe you might not ever use, that if, say for instance, you're doing family photos, you don't need the family photo groupings. What you want is kind of the candids of everybody hanging out, that's a family member waiting for their chance to be called, talking with friends and that they haven't seen in years. I feel like that's kind of where I get most of my video, my content. It's pretty much all candid, and it's also all kind of the blog post items. So if I was making a photo blog post, all of those all those photos now become moving video clips, and they become kind of that highlight film. So yeah, I would say that's kind of my rough suggestions for that. And then you can also go to the hybrid, or I guess how to make a wedding highlight film course, since you're a member, and you can check that out and see kind of all of my, or I guess there's multiple wedding days in there where I do both, but then also all the editing process and how I guess like everything that goes into my highlight films is in that course. So maybe check that out too. Maybe I would say maybe before you actually go to the wedding day, just so you have a little bit more of an idea of kind of what to expect and what at least I end up using in the final cut. Craig Thomas asks, for your hybrid coverage, what mics do you use? So I use a Rode, I guess I use multiple mics. So I use the Tascam DR10L, which is what you're hearing right now. It's not a wireless pack, it's just a standalone microphone pack that you can put on a groom, a bride, if you're feeling very daring. I would recommend just putting one on the groom or the officiant. Don't let him run away after or her run away after the wedding though, because they will usually forget that they have a microphone on them and they'll be in their car and then you'll never see them again. So maybe when you give them the microphone, try to get a business card from them. So worst case, you can give them a call and be like, hey, I think my microphone's been on you for the past 4 hours. And I think that I've recorded everything that you've been talking about. Actually, they don't know that. So whenever I mic people with these, I never specify that it's like a standalone recorder. People get weirded out by that. I don't use anything. I use a program called Pluralize to synchronize everything in post. It's really, really amazing. Pluralize is Pluralses, eyes, Pluralize. So I use that to synchronize multiple different cameras with different audio sources. You can just do this in Premiere as well, but Premiere is a lot more limited and it'll do kind of like 1 or 2 clips at a time type thing. Pluralize, you can just drag everything you shot from the entire day and it'll put it into a nice timeline for you, which is really cool. So I do that. I use these standalones. Usually we'll do 2, depending on the wedding, I guess. Usually I have one on the officiant and one on the groom or somebody wearing a suit usually, just so that if the officiant goes away during their vows that we still have good audio, or if they don't give them a microphone, which happens a lot. There's a lot of variables for audio. So I do 2 of those usually, and then we have typically, I would say, a shotgun microphone, which this year I've been using the Rode VideoMic Pro NTG. Yeah, that's the name of it, that's it. So it's like the VideoMic NTG, so not the VideoMic Pro. We used the Pro Plus for a long time, but we've had some weird issues with it. The NTG, Rode NTG VideoMic Rode VideoMic NTG. I'm losing it. That's the one. That's what it's called. And I like the pickup pattern of that I feel like it's very natural to people's voices. I find that the VideoMic Pros and the VideoMic Pro Plus maybe prioritize bass and low end a little bit more, which sounds really good in the beginning and you're like, yeah, it's such a bassy, like such good audio. And then eventually you realize that that's not everything that comes to audio. So the NTG version of it I think is really good. And it's based more on the profile of the actual proper production mics like the NTG3 that we use a lot. And it just sounds really good in pretty much all conditions overall, I would say. So we have one of those on whatever main camera is. It's kind of a room mic. We have usually a backup camera that's also running just the onboard room mic, a GoPro typically running again a room mic. And then I'll have, at this time, I have the H5, so it's a Zoom H5 that allows kind of inputs, and I bring a cable, an XLR cable, an RCA cable, because I've discovered that I need that a lot, which is the 2-colored cable, which is not one that I ever thought that I would need, but I've needed to pull from DJ boards like the little MIDI mixers that people have, the USB mixers. Sometimes they only have an RCA out, which I think is crazy, but I need to have that cord, as well as a 1/4 inch, so like guitar patch cable, and then an auxiliary, so like kind of the mini to mini as well. And if you have those 4 cords, you can usually get into any sort of, like wherever that microphone, that wireless microphone is going to, you can usually get an out from that board. And then I also use the H5 as a room mic as well. So there's onboard mics, and I use that just to have it. And I set that and they record simultaneously on different channels. So that's my long answer to that. A lot of backup options. And then usually I'll just use whatever one is the best. So typically maybe that means moving from, if the microphone works the entire ceremony and it doesn't, the wireless doesn't go haywire or whatever, I'll usually use that for most of it. And then for the vows, I'll switch to the groom mic. But other than that, usually I'm using the microphone, because typically the microphone is going through the speakers, and whatever's going through the speakers is also the music that they're playing through there. And then if there is live music or something happening, I'll be mixing in one of those room mics over top of usually just them coming down the aisle and them leaving. So yeah. Travis asks, if Trump wins in November, can I move to Canada and work for you? Our borders are still closed. I can't even come visit you guys yet. Yeah, it's definitely like a crazy time in the world. Marshall asks, 100 squirrels versus 15 toddlers in Warzone Gulag. What team do you put your money on? We'll have to run the simulation. I'll get back to you on that. Honk. Nathan asks, now that you've shot a couple of weddings again, have you noticed your wedding day flow to be different than it was pre-pandemic? Yes, absolutely. That will be part of the elopement course. That will also be part of, I'm gonna release 3 kind of like new wedding videos upcoming as well, probably once I edit through the elopement course. I'll get that out first. And then I have 3 wedding days coming, and wedding days, so my process is maybe the same, but the wedding days themselves are a heck of a lot different, and they're quite different. It feels like I'm doing engagement sessions that have a wedding almost now. So I'm going to go through kind of that and talk a little bit about how things have changed and hopefully some takeaways to make your life a little bit easier, a little bit better. Eddie asks, what do you find as best copy on Facebook ads for family portraits? Any examples? I don't do a whole lot of family. So my family sales process is typically all from my email list. So I've built my email list over years. And if you don't have an email list, I recommend, that's another takeaway. First takeaway, that you can target on Facebook by recently engaged. Second big takeaway, definitely make an email list if you don't have an email list. I would say overall that's where I get most of my sales from, that time sensitive offer. I would say as far as Facebook ads go, if there is a time sensitive element, if it's a sale that is only happening for a week, people are going to be a lot more likely to jump on that. If it's just a general like, hey, I'm a family photographer, come hang out sometime, there's a pretty low chance that as many people are going to actually book sessions with you. I usually run my time sensitive sales like that as something that they have to buy kind of like on that day. It's like they're buying a gift card and we can schedule out a time later. You can also do it so that it's all in either Squarespace if you're using their calendar system, or Calendly. They will also accept PayPal money as well. So you can actually book times and sessions with people. I think that's what Lindsay does and a few other photographers do, that whenever somebody is interested, it's like, hey, I'd like to book a session, and they can book that time and they pay for that time, and that is their official time, which also works very well if you have a few dates. The benefit, I guess, to shooting or to selling gift cards or gift certificates or whatever it might be, is that you'll find that not all of them, even remotely close to all of them, end up coming back. So people will spend money and they'll have a gift card and it expires in 2 years and all of those might not come back. You can be the good guy and you can remind them if you want. But otherwise you can also, the thing that I kind of do is that if somebody does come back 2 years from now and they're like, hey, like we had this gift card, but it obviously expired, I'll give them like a really, really good rate on another session. So like $50 or something, since they've already purchased the original session. So that's kind of the way that I go about that whenever that happens. But you'll notice that not a lot of gift certificates end up actually coming back. So that's kind of why I do it that way. Maybe that's a little gray method, but I do sell a lot usually around Christmas. It's usually Christmas gifts to like friends or family, and I do that usually 2 days before Christmas, and I blast my email list with that. And then sometimes I'll also do a video. So I'll do a video on Facebook talking about like what it is that I'm doing, that hey, like you have until like tomorrow at midnight to purchase this session. And a lot of people usually take you up on that, especially around Christmas when they're looking for last minute gifts. All right, next question. Mahi, I hope I'm saying that right. What are cocktail hours actually? I'm gonna go with that. What are cocktail hours actually? So cocktail hours essentially is like kind of the hour usually in between. So couple goes out, they have their wedding, and then usually when we go and do photos, if this is kind of a traditional, the bride and groom maybe haven't seen each other, or the groom and groom haven't seen each other before the wedding, or whatever it might be. If they haven't seen each other, we do all the photos after the ceremony. Usually during that time, somebody goes to cocktail hour. Anyone that's not part of the wedding party or family, they go to cocktail hour, and it's just like usually a patio or a room that everyone just stands around and drinks, and there's past hors d'oeuvres, and that's about it. Ryan asks, I've been to a few wedding meetings with a client that seems really keen. When I send an invoice contract, they sort of go silent. How much should I be following up? If there's somebody that actually asked for a contract and invoice, and they want to move forward, I would be probably following up way more than I usually would. That if, especially now, maybe things got busy, and I would say maybe 2, 3, 4 times even, if they've asked for a contract. If they haven't, we've had the meeting and they seemed excited and we left, and I usually leave it in their court to be like, hey, if you decide you want to move forward, send me an email, I can put everything together for you. And that's usually the barrier, I think, for me at least. And if they do contact me and they're like, hey, we'd like to move forward with package 3, I would say maybe once that I can remember was a time that by the time they got to that point, that they didn't end up actually booking when they asked for the contract. So I would say maybe that might be a thing that maybe it would make sense depending on kind of your sales strategy. I really do kind of leave it with them. If you're running any like time sensitive sales during the meeting or anything like that, hey, if you book, actually maybe another helpful thing, you can also run discounts if it's like kind of near the end of the month. You can be like, hey, if you book before the end of the month, you get like $300 off or whatever it might be. I'm running a promotion. That if you do a discount like that, it gives them even more of a reason to get everything together by the end of the month. Don't do it like, hey, you have to book by tomorrow to get this. Like, that's a little mean. But if you're maybe 10 days out from the end of the month, it's like, hey, if you decide you want to book before the end of the month, you get like something free or some money off or whatever it might be. That usually propels people to get it done a little bit quicker than not. Hendrik asks, do you plan to come to Germany in the near future after Corona, of course? I would love to come to Germany. It's a place, I've been to the airports, Toronto to Frankfurt, Toronto to Munich is like kind of, I would say, our main flights from Air Canada into Europe, but I've never actually stayed in either of those places. I literally have just connected. But I've been to pretty much all of the other European Union countries. So I would love to come to Germany, and I will for sure. I'm also trying to do a documentary with Leica, because Leica Canada, I've talked about this a little bit as well, that Leica Canada had a factory over here. Now it's, I think, military optics, but it was kind of a cool local story, and I wanted to bring that story and use it as an excuse to go to Leica headquarters in Germany. Again, maybe this speaks to if you start a documentary, you can now reach out to Leica in Germany and be like, hey, making this documentary, would love to come visit and do some interviews, which sounds just like super cool to me. So I'm hoping that I will get to come out there for that at some point. Right now, I think Germany, if I'm from Canada, I can just go to Germany and theoretically, legally, I don't have to quarantine on arrival, which I think is weird, and I probably would do something, but I would need a lot of time, I think, to come over there. And then I have to quarantine 14 days when I come home here. But yeah, so like you can kind of start to travel again, which is funny. Charles asks, what is your number one recommendation for new photographers who is an introvert to bring in customers and feel confident behind a camera? I think to do as many shoots as you can with your friends and family and really get your technical skills dialed so you don't even have to think about those when you're out and you're actually shooting with people. I feel like also sessions that are a little bit shorter helped me out a lot, that I knew that if I had a half hour to go out and do these photos, that I could kind of be like, not necessarily in like full extrovert mode, but I could be introvert plus mode, where I could be a little bit more kind of dialed into that mindset. And I find that if I know that it's a short time frame, if it's like a 45-minute session or if it's a 15-minute like mini family session, that I can get through that and I can do something a little bit different, I think, as far as my mindset goes. In a shoot like that, if I know that I'm at a full wedding day, it does require like a little, like kind of a wave of like, I need some time to not do anything, then I can come in and do some things that I need to not do anything. I need to sit down for dinner and not be in control of people for a bit, and then I can come back a little bit. So it's a wave that you'll kind of learn, and it's kind of whatever works for you. But I would say make sure that you get all your technical just completely dialed. My number one suggestion's always been like, get that one lens that you feel super comfortable on. For me, it's an 85 because I like that distance. I feel like I can communicate easily at that distance. I don't feel pressured. I don't feel like people are looking like too deep into my soul from that distance. And I can set up some great shots, and I think that's kind of my happy working place. So hopefully you can find where your happy focal length is as well. Xander says, 3 things you wish you knew when you started out in the wedding business. I think the one, these will be in no particular order. One, that you're not really part of a community until you're actually out and shooting weddings, that you can't just email all of the wedding planners in town and start some sort of friendship, that they just will not get back to you. 2, that also kind of on that same vein, that really no one's gonna let you second shoot for them in the beginning until you actually become like kind of part of their friend circle almost. Or I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but I would say my second shooting jobs really started to happen when I started to actually, one, be a working wedding photographer, but also in the same kind of social circles as other photographers. And I didn't really realize that it kind of went that way, that I figured it would go the other way, that you second shoot and then you become part of it, but you kind of have to become friends with people before you start to second shoot. And then I would say the third thing is that I didn't go nearly as hard on creating my portfolio as I should have. That I started out, I built some great images with my friends around here, and they really were my like ideal images that would attract my ideal client. And then I let all of my paid work overtake that. I was like, oh, well, I'm not getting paid by couples like this yet. So if I'm getting paid by couples like this, maybe I should market this. So my website became a lot of weddings that I didn't really want to be the future of my business. Whereas I should have really gone harder once the paid opportunities started coming in to continue building my portfolio in the direction that I wanted. I think that was one of the mistakes that I made. And then also a thing I guess maybe is that I pushed against for a long time. This is the fourth bonus item, that I didn't incorporate my business as early as I probably should have. I wish that I would have done that a little bit earlier for tax breaks and for a number of other reasons. But basically once you kind of hit a certain threshold, I feel like it makes sense money-wise, and then it also makes sense liability-wise. One of the big shifts I made in my business is now that I'm an employee of Taylor Jackson, so I get a paycheck from my business of Taylor Jackson, and I think that helped me figure out, I think, the financial aspect of separating my business from my personal life a little bit better, and I think that was kind of one of the big shifts for me. So that's bonus point number 4. Next question, currently I'm using Squarespace for my portfolio and SmugMug for photo delivery. Is it worth to have everything in Pixieset? I would say if you like your Squarespace website, that it is totally fine to have that as as your main website. I would say maybe begin to migrate, depending on aesthetically, if you're a fan of SmugMug. I would say aesthetically for weddings, Pixieset is a heck of a lot better. If you've built out a nice theme and it looks really great on SmugMug, then it's probably fine. I found that it was way easier for me to customize a Pixieset gallery to be a lot more wedding specific. But I wouldn't say if you already have your Squarespace website set up, maybe next time you're going in for a redesign, at that point maybe think about it, but I wouldn't just there's other things you can invest your time in right now, I think, that would be better suited, like building that ideal portfolio like I've talked about a little bit, or just actually spending time in marketing and creating content that people will actually find super helpful. So I would probably prioritize that above doing like a website redesign and bringing everything over to Pixieset, because I don't think that doing all of that will make you additional money, but in the future, it'll probably be a nice to have. Justin says, your unobtrusive approach is something I really appreciate. I'm wondering if you try to place your off-camera flashes to work effectively while trying to keep them from bothering people. I absolutely do. There's a few times that I'll put an off-camera flash somewhere that's kind of what I would consider to be annoying. And if I do that, usually what I try to do is put like a little, if you have the little Velcro guys, you can do like a little Velcro kind of like back protective thing. So rather than having a bounce card, it's just like literally a black piece of, I don't know what it would be, I guess like camera bag almost, to just cover. So if I'm sitting here and the flash is right here, that I'm not seeing that flash pop every couple of seconds, that I'm kind of blocking that from the audience or from the guests. So I definitely do that. And then beyond that, I'm fine to run my flash at a little bit higher power if I know that I can hide it somewhere where it's not going to be affecting people. And then I also, I guess, am very aware, or more aware, of how many frames I'm shooting as well, because I know every time I shoot a frame that a flash is going to go off. So I try to do something a little bit less than my usual. I shoot pretty fast, as I'm sure you know. So I try to do that a little bit less and pick the specific moments that I do want to capture. And then, yeah, I kind of treat it almost like as, it's not really a game, but I feel like it is a bit of a game, because, I don't know, like, everybody, at least any of the photographers in the audience, are also visible to it. So it's a funny game to just like capture those like exact decisive moments, and only those moments. So like just like the smile and laugh at the mic, like to capture just that exact moment makes me feel pretty happy. And then you also get like social acceptance from all the other silent photographers in the audience. They're like, he nailed that shot. That was the moment, and flash went off. So I don't know if there's fun in that, I guess. Oscar says, how much do you talk to your clients after the initial chat to go over weddings, the signing? I'm not sure if it's better to engage with a lot of follow-ups or just let them be. I would say that it's definitely important to follow up. If they've expressed serious interest, if they've asked for that contract, I would be following up a little bit more. If they haven't asked for that contract and they've disappeared, then I think it's okay to let them go and to try not to stress too much about it. There's almost an infinite number of ways that they could have ended up ghosting, and none of them you'll ever be able to control. So try not to stress too much about it and focus on kind of what's next. Amanda says, if you go back to give yourself 2 bits of advice 5 years ago, what would they be? I think that I'm going to just rehash the 3 that I had, the 3 points that I had just a moment ago. And I would say that is kind of my answer. The big one being that I wish that I could have just continued building my portfolio rather than relaxing and thinking that like, hey, I'm getting paid work. My paid work is going to become my portfolio, that I should have really stayed on top of continuing to create the dream portfolio that I wanted. And I still do that to this day. I still do that specifically on YouTube. Like, you literally see me do it, that I'm out there creating travel content, even when nobody's paying to have that done. But that travel content that we self-produced. Eventually Nikon, it became something we could pitch to Nikon to have them finance, which I think is really cool. So always building that dream portfolio, I think, in all aspects of your photography career. Next question, do you have an intern program to assist you? I don't really. I only really ever hire second photographers, and they're usually my friends. We have, I would say, maybe there's 5 of us that all work together. We're all other photographers, video creators, and I would say that we just kind of work together all the time. So it's unfortunately kind of, I don't know, a closed-ish group overall, but I don't know, I'll figure something out in the future, and we'll see. Eric says, can you expound your simple way to capture audio for a highlight video? So in the how to build a highlight video course, there should be a section there on audio that is a full, kind of a more in-depth version. It's probably like a 20-minute video about kind of how I do audio. So I would say click over there and your answer will be there, and in a lot more detail than I could do now. I would say it kind of goes back to I think the question that was a few questions ago, that were what technical microphones do you need? I think by having 2 microphones, one on the officiant, one on somebody wearing a suit, as well as maybe 2 room mics, and then if you can also get into the actual board to get the microphone audio. An H5, Zoom H5, Zoom H4n will also do those. I would say that those would kind of be the things that I would begin with, and then if you ever notice that maybe there's something that would have been nice to have, I feel like you're gonna just capture everything that way. And when you're doing photo and video coverage, it's important to just have everything kind of just like running, and you can go out and you can do the highlight clips as well as the photography as well. Javier says, how much do your packages start at when pricing destination weddings? I had a destination wedding kit, but I've definitely kind of changed and modified it since I originally kind of put it out. So maybe I'll do an updated version of it, but typically I would say it's all based on the destination, and it's all based on kind of, I guess, my somewhat inside knowledge of it, that I know that if I'm going to an island or something and they're staying at a resort, I know that they're probably getting some free rooms as part of the group, because they're bringing a lot of people in there. So I kind of know that, so I kind of keep that in mind when making my package. I want to make it worth my time, but I also want to do it a lot of the time as well. That I think by going and doing it, especially if it's like a Monday, Tuesday wedding and it's not going to burn any of your Saturdays on either side, I think that it's important to do for your portfolio. And even if you're not making maybe as much money, like if they're not paying for 3 full days of coverage, I think that's totally fine, because even if they're going to pay you for like a smaller package and also get your airfare and get your hotel, that what you're going to generate there is going to book you a lot more work in the future. So I would say on weird days for destination weddings, if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I can get back for that Saturday wedding and it's not costing me any money to go, and I get to go and do something I love, I'm going to make that as attractive as I can for them. But everything is pretty much completely custom, I would say, because destination weddings are very, very different overall. Vince says, what camera are you primarily using for commercial video work with business? I shoot a D850 and only have done stills up to this point. Would like to branch out to video. I would say your 850 is a totally great video camera. Make sure you have a stabilized lens. It's the only thing that you're missing. Canon R5, I think, is like 100% overkill for pretty much everyone. I think for people that make music videos, I think I said this in the video, I think it's like made for people that make music videos in low light, and that's it. Anything beyond that, I think the R6 is going to be good for. So I would say if you are interested in switching over to Canon, the R6 would be awesome. But at the same time, if you have a little bit of time to wait, a lot of the Nikon rumors are coming out that the Z6S or whatever the successor to that is going to be coming out hopefully soon. And because CES is canceled this year, I feel like if they have something ready, they're not going to wait until CES to announce it. Also, as a disclaimer, even though I work with Nikon, I have absolutely no visibility on their product line whatsoever. I wish that I did, even personally, so I could make better recommendations, but I know literally absolutely nothing. But a lot of the rumor sites have been saying that the Z6S has been coming for a long time, and also before the Z5 was even announced. I would say even a Z5 is a pretty good, would be a pretty good camera for video work as well. If you are interested in getting off that D850 and you have a bunch of Nikon glass already, the Z5 or even a Z6 that you can get for really, really inexpensive secondhand now, they add in-body stabilization to all your lenses, and they will also make all of your Nikon lenses actually work better than they do on digital SLR, which is kind of funny. So I would say that might be an option with the 3.0, with, I guess it's 3.2 or 3.12 or whatever it is now. With the new firmware, I would say it's to a point that I am super happy with it. In the beginning, the Z6 was a bit of a challenge to work with. Even in January before 3.0 came out, when we shot all the Nikon show content, there were definitely some issues and definitely some things that we wish could be better. With the 3.0 firmware, I feel like it got to the place that I really did want it at. So I would say maybe look at that if you're fine with using one card slot. 2 card slots, Z5, I feel like it does most of the stuff that I would need for wedding and commercial. And then whatever the successor to the Z6 is going to be, which will hopefully be out soon, it might even be a firmware update. I don't know, maybe the physical body is going to stay the same and it's going to be the Z6S firmware update that's going to maybe cost $100 or whatever to buy a new camera. I know some companies have done that. I know Panasonic does that a lot as well. So yeah, I would maybe say that. R5, overkill. R6, I'm going to be personally purchasing, so I have the front screen, and I think it's going to be a great camera, but I'll run kind of the Z5 versus Z6 tests for a number of things whenever I get them. David asks, how do you arrange payments out of Canada? I mean, if I am legally working as a freelancer, LLC, whatever in Canada, and I do a wedding in the US or Mexico or England, what is the process I should go to legally invoice the couple? I have a video on my YouTube channel about this. There is no way legally to do that at all, I don't think. You can, or I guess you can invoice them, but you can't legally work in any other countries. So if you are doing a destination wedding, know that you're doing it illegally in all times and you're on vacation. That's kind of the negative thing overall, that you have to be at least okay with that. I've personally kind of dialed back a lot of my destination work, that I feel like I also have kind of a moral boundary where if I'm going out and we're doing like Nikon show stuff, like I don't really care. Like if we end up in Miami, we do a bunch of work, and that doesn't take a job away from a US citizen or a UK citizen or whatever, I think that that's totally fine. When it gets into actually doing destination weddings, you're taking a job away from somebody, which is kind of, I guess you kind of have to play with where that is on your mind. But I would say if you are legally able to work in a country, like Tim can, my video guy Tim, his mom was born in the Caribbean Union, so that means that he can technically get a passport to work and live in a lot of different countries down south. So if you do have any other passport options, if your parents were born somewhere, if your grandparents even in some cases were born in different countries, that you can get a passport, and in that case you're able to legally do it. Currently though, I don't know of a single person. I would love for somebody to correct me on this and prove me wrong, because I really am curious about it, but I don't know of a single person that's ever shot a wedding in a different country that they don't have a passport, that they've done it legally. I don't know of anyone that's got a work visa. I had a work visa when I worked commercially in the States, so I was working for a projector company up here. I had a legal work visa that I could go down and I could do work in that case, but I think it was, I don't remember the cost. It was very expensive to actually set up. So it's not something that's feasible for a freelance photographer to go and do, I don't think. So yeah, that's the unfortunate answer to that question. And that video is on my channel somewhere if you search for it. It's like the thing that nobody talks about in destination weddings or something like that. So yeah, that is all the questions for today. Sorry to end it off on a bummer note, but know that there are a lot of other photographers that are doing destination work, and a lot of them are just on vacation with their families and whatnot all the time. So that's kind of the unfortunate answer to that. I'll see you again next week. If you're interested in submitting a question, come on over to our members group. Our members group is available if you sign up to the members site, and then you come over to the members group and you can ask any questions you want for next week. And usually what happens today is Tuesday, so on Monday I'll set up a topic and it will be, hey, ask me any questions for next week, and then I'll record this on Tuesday, which is today, and then I'll post it on Wednesday, because it takes me a little while to edit because I do the little storyboard thing now, so it takes a little extra time. It's also a long video. Today was an extra long video. Thanks for sticking with me if you're still here. That's quite impressive. See you again another time. Elopement course coming next week. I'm gonna say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm gonna have that officially done and out. So if you're a member, you can get the elopement course. And what the elopement course is, it's not necessarily just about elopements, or it's not about specific cities that are typically considered elopement cities, like Queenstown, New Zealand, or cities that people would fly to in order to have their wedding. This is more so that the entire wedding industry, at least for the next couple of weeks, months, maybe even next year, is really turning into more of an elopement style of weddings. So, or wedding, it's been a long video. The entire industry is definitely changing, and I think that the positive is for you, if you're just getting into it, or really regardless of where you are in your business, that there are a lot more last minute jobs coming up than ever before. So if you want to build that portfolio, or you want to get out and you want to shoot like 20 different elopements, that is actually realistically possible. One, because there is the volume of them actually existing now, and two, because they are on just like strange and unusual dates. A lot of them are like Thursdays, Tuesdays, Mondays, Sunday mornings. I have one, I think August 20th, I have a brunch elopement, and then I have like a 4-hour break, and then I have a dinner elopement at the same hotel. So there's like weird stuff happening that's never happened before to me as a wedding photographer. So yeah, thanks for being here, and I'll see you again next week. Any questions, come on over to the members group if you're a member, and drop them in next week. The topic will go up on Monday. I will see you again before then.